When looking for a sedan or a hatchback that you want to daily in the compact segment, people go for two things usually. They either go for the Toyota Corolla Altis if they're looking for something not too sporty, or they go for the Honda Civic, particularly in the RS variant if they want a very sporty daily driver. But what if I tell you there's yet another vehicle in that segment that car enthusiasts love? It's even sportier compared to a Honda Civic. Meet the 2025 Mazda 3 Fastback in the sport trim with a lot of auto exit parts. In this video, let us show you what this very sporty, dailyable Fastback has to offer. Usually for sporty vehicles, we start with the driving segment, but I want to start with the exterior segment of the Mazda 3 because this vehicle simply is stunning, especially in this soul red crystal color. This vehicle just pops. It stands out on the road. And now that you have the auto exit parts here, it looks even better. So here at the front, you have a pretty long hood, which makes it pretty sporty. Couple that with the short overhang at the back. You have a different grille over here. Usually you'd get like a mesh grille, but for this one, since it is the auto exit grille, it's a horizontal slats. Now these LED headlamps too, they have nice rings on it, which looks really good. So once you couple all the blacked outness of this front area with the soul red crystal, and I don't know, it just pops. It just makes sense. Now, Mazda has been using this Kodo design language for some time now, and even in 2025, it really works, especially in the Mazda 3. I know a lot of people won't be a big fan of this C-pillar right here. Some say that it looks empty, it's a little bit too big, but personally, I think that makes the Mazda 3 look incredibly unique from the profile. Now you'd also notice that yes, it is a fastback, it is a hatchback, so it kind of does slope towards the rear, which now continues to this slightly small spoiler. I do wish that spoiler is a little bit bigger, a little bit more aggressive, but as it is, it looks okay overall. You get Mazda Speed side skirts by the bottom, auto exit, carbon fiber wing mirror caps, which honestly don't really do anything, and then you have your 18-inch rims wrapped in a set of Bridgestone Turanza tires. And if you notice, those lug nuts are red too. Well, guess what, they're also from Auto Exe. Going towards the rear of the Mazda 3, and the elegance continues. In most hatchbacks, you're gonna have the tailgate pretty vertically set, but for this one, it has a very nice slope to it. It's not even a gentle slope, it really is a pretty steep slope. It just looks beautiful. Now couple that again with your dual tail lamps and the turn signals. Take a look at this. It doesn't just disappear, it actually pulses, which looks really good. Now move further down below, you even have a different rear diffuser right here because that is now matched with your auto exit quad exhaust. And if you take a look at the Mazda logo, it's also the housing for the cleverly hidden release for your trunk, your tailgate. And once this tailgate is open, you don't need the power tailgate. It is only very light and very small, and you'll see that space is about okay. You only have around 300 plus liters of space back here, which is definitely more than enough for your daily needs. Just in case it's not enough, you can always remove this parcel cover right here, or even fold down those rear seats 60/40. And since this is a car you really want to drive far, don't worry, you're not stuck with some tire repair kit. You actually have a space saver tire hidden under there. And I think that the Mazda 3 is about as close as what I can get, for example, to a European car without having to spend European car money. And you'll notice it in the small things. In most Japanese cars, to open up the gas filler cap, you do have to like pull a latch inside the vehicle. But for the Mazda 3, it's very similar to those European cars. You simply unlock the car and then you press on the gas tank cover, and then there you go. You can open it just like that. Very Euro. And to show you more of the auto exit additional parts, well, let us lift up this hood right here. And the first thing you'll immediately notice is that it gets hood struts. Those are auto exit exclusive. So if you get the regular Mazda 3, well, it's not gonna have hood struts, and you do have to muscle through it. Aside from that, you do get a hood strut right here from Auto Exit, a battery clamp, as well as an intake suction hose right there. And one thing you don't see over here is the addition also of an Auto Exit strut bar by the rear floors right there for the rear suspension. So there are a mix of things that just look good and are actually functional, and a lot of the things that you get right here, they are actually functional, including, yes, this strut bar right here, and even that intake hose, which makes a little bit more power in theory, and it also makes things have a better sound when you are driving this vehicle. Anyway, that aside, let's now go on towards the powertrain. This is a 2-liter naturally aspirated gasoline engine making 155 horsepower and 200 Newton meters of torque, mated to a 6-speed automatic. For fuel economy, you're looking at around 7.5 kilometers per liter in heavy city traffic and 19.3 kilometers per liter on the highway. Overall, the power figures aren't as high as the hybrid version of the Mazda 3, but for a light vehicle such as this, I don't think there's going to be any problem at all. Well, we'll notice later on in the driving segment how this car performs. Now here inside the Mazda 3, first we check the door. Sounds pretty good, especially for a Japanese car. That really sounds good. The interior of the Mazda 3, I think this is as close as you can get to a BMW for Japanese cars. I mean, everything is just so sporty looking. Everything is driver oriented. Even your center 10.25-inch touchscreen that is facing towards you, the ergonomics and the controls, everything for the driver is perfect. This 10.25-inch screen too, it does come with wireless Apple CarPlay. And unfortunately, for this variant, you don't get a 360-degree view camera, but you do get a very clear reverse camera. At the same time, for some reason, it is not touchscreen, so you do have to use the center rotary control to use it, which is kind of weird for a car in 2025. Nonetheless, it is probably one of the easiest systems to use in the motoring industry. I mean, there's not much menus that you have to dig through, so even when you're driving, this screen is super easy to control. Now we go on to the ergonomics. So everything is so easy to configure. The seats, they are adjustable in so much ways. It's also memory adjustable. And even the steering wheel, it tilts and telescopes, and it goes really far back, so you can easily find your perfect driving position. The bolsters, they're not the most aggressive, so they're comfortable for daily driving, but there's also enough bolsters for the times that you want to take your Mazda 3 up a mountain pass, for example. And then there comes the materials in here, because everything just feels very high quality. This panel right here near the driver, that is incredibly thick. It's somewhat leathery, somewhat rubbery, but it really is soft. Then you have this part, which is all leather and all very plush. Even on the sides right here, everything is just plush. Again, it's practically almost BMW levels. The fit and finish, the air vents, when you move them, they all feel very solid too. I love it. This is truly the best when it comes to these Japanese cars. Now for your instrument cluster, it's only partly digital. Only that center part of it is a screen. It's a 7-inch screen. And I think that things like this would really age well, because I mean, this car was released pretty long time ago and it was facelifted a couple of years ago, right? But even today, I mean, this entire interior truly feels very modern still. You have a dual zone climate control over here. You have a wireless charging pad, a no-nonsense shifter by the center, electronic parking brake to keep things modern with auto hold, and you even have a sunroof on the top. Also, what about safety? Okay, well, you got 7 airbags in here, which is pretty good. But when it comes to advanced driver assistance system functions, you do have to go for the hybrid variant if you want adaptive cruise control. This base variant, the sport variant, only gets blind spot monitoring and front and rear cross traffic alert. I just do want to add that you do get a 12-speaker Bose sound system in here. Unfortunately, for some reason, it sounds nowhere as good as what you would find in a Honda Civic RS, for example, or especially compared to the Honda CR-V hybrid. I don't know, it sounds okay for daily driving, but I feel like it's not worth having the Bose name in it, which is especially odd because the cabin of the Mazda 3 is a lot smaller than those vehicles, so I was expecting the sound field to be a little bit better. Now for the rear seats, we also check the door. Sounds really good. Okay, so while the front is all well and good, it's a very driver-focused vehicle, and we love that. There is a trade-off for that. You see, the rear seats, they kind of skimped out a little bit in terms of space right here. So it's honestly not that much more spacious compared to, let's say, even a Mazda 2. If you compare this to the Corolla Altis or the Honda Civic, it's so much tighter in here. But again, that's okay because this is a driver-oriented vehicle. Nonetheless, if you are seated behind yourself and you're like me at 5'6" tall, you'd still have more than ample amounts of legroom. However, headroom, yeah, that will get a little bit limited. If you're about 5'9" or so, your head will probably already touch this headliner right here, but at least you still do get that same nice soft touch materials even at the back. And while you don't get a driver's side map pocket, there is still one on the passenger side, and you still do get two air vents here, and you also do get a center armrest with two cup holders. Unfortunately, there is no USB ports back here. So now, can you see three people back here? Well, honestly, this center seat is probably the widest in its class and one of the widest center seats I've ever seen in a small vehicle. However, while the seat itself, the seat base is wide, the overall width of the Mazda 3 is still not the widest. So this rear seat is still best reserved for two people. So now we drive the Mazda 3 Sport Fastback with auto exit ports, and driving this really does feel like you're driving a more budget-friendly BMW. You feel one with the car, you feel very connected with the car, and that is good because that is the entire philosophy of Mazda with their Jinba Itai. The driver and the car being one, man and horse as one. So every time you do push this over a corner, you feel every single part of the car move together with you. You know at any point in time where the front wheels are pointing, you feel like you're also connected to the wheel itself. And cornering this is also such a joy because it corners really flat. Now you couple that with Mazda's incredible G-vectoring system, and you can really have a lot of fun with your Mazda 3. Even though it doesn't have that much power, it still is more than enough to have fun. And that is a thing that I also noticed with the Miata before. That is proof that you don't need a fast car to have fun. Now this obviously isn't as sprightly as a Miata, but still, for a car that has a ton of creature comforts, a car that is great for daily driving, that is more than enough. That is totally fine. Now we go back to that power, right? And yes, you don't have that much power low down in the RPM range, and since it is a naturally aspirated engine, you don't get any sort of a turbo boost either. However, once you really wring this out, especially in sport mode, you get a slight surge of power at around 4,000 RPM. So it's like Mazda's really telling you, hey, you paid for that auto exit exhaust. You want to hear a lot of it? Come on, push it a little bit more. Push it more and more. Once you do, you'll be rewarded not only with a very bassy exhaust system and exhaust note, but you'd also have the feeling of a little bit of speed, because the sound really does make it sound a lot faster than it actually is. And yes, also since it is pretty quiet for the most parts, you might actually overspeed once in a while, but don't worry because the Mazda 3 actually comes with a heads-up display. Now the power and the handling out of the way, I do have to talk about noise, vibration, and harshness. And in terms of noise, wind noise is one of the downsides of the Mazda 3 because when you are going at highway speeds, you can hear a lot of wind noise. Why? I don't know. Probably because the wing mirrors are a little bit large. But in terms of tire noise, it's actually pretty quiet, especially with these Bridgestone Turanza tires. Vibrations wise, so you don't really feel much of it. And in terms of harshness, it is about the same as a Honda Civic RS. So much firmer, much more jolting compared to, let's say, a Corolla Altis. But it doesn't really hurt. It still is more than good enough for your daily driving needs. It's also a very maneuverable vehicle since it is incredibly compact. It's so easy to drive in tighter city streets, which also doubles as a great car to throw around corners, right? And if you are parking this, not only is that reverse camera very clear, but just like European vehicles and much more premium vehicles, the very moment you put this vehicle into reverse, the passenger side mirror actually does tilt down to give you a better view of the parking lines. Excellent. The Mazda 3 Fastback in the sport trim with the auto exit parts is one beautiful and fun to drive vehicle. It may not be the most practical nor the most spacious, especially given the fact that it is pretty tiny and pretty low overall. But if you're really looking for a dailyable small car that looks amazing and drives amazing, even better compared to a Honda Civic RS, then at 1,510,000 pesos plus around 300,000 pesos if you want the auto exit parts, then the Mazda 3 is definitely a car that you should consider, and a car that I think a lot of people have to consider even more.